chap contacted me there yesterday on my YouTube channel, and I have a certain amount of sympathy for him. It appears that he bought a property at auction, and now it transpires that there is a tenant in the property and there is a dispute between the tenant and the vendor of the property as to who actually owns it. Now, I have a certain amount of sympathy for the chap who contacted me and left a comment on my YouTube channel, but I've only a limited amount of sympathy, quite frankly. And the reason for that is because there's a video on my YouTube channel explaining that if you're going to buy at auction, there's one thing you need to do, and that is you need to do your homework before you bid and before you buy. This chap appears to have bought the property at auction, thinking that he got a great bargain, a tremendous bargain, and then he went to a solicitor, because it appears to be the case now that his solicitor is saying to him, no, you're not entitled to vacant possession, and it's your problem, essentially. And from a legal perspective, that is probably the case, because the likelihood is that when the documents were provided for the auction, that the contract and the documents of title and the special conditions in the contract would have made it clear that there was a sitting tenant, may even have made it clear that there was a dispute, but certainly would have made it clear that there wouldn't be vacant possession handed over and that there was a tenant. Because I have come across quite a few properties for sale at auction where there was tenants, and people have contacted me and asked me to have a look at the contracts, and I have always had to warn them that there is a tenant in the property. The vendor, that is the receiver, is saying they know nothing about the tenant, there's no letting agreement, they're not sure what the arrangement is, and I have to warn the person who's thinking about buying the property that there may be a difficulty later on. Now, there may not be, insofar as if you buy the property and serve the proper notices and so forth after that, then you can obtain vacant possession. But it could take a while, it could be slow, especially if the tenant disputes. But to revert back to the original commenter on my YouTube channel yesterday, the chap who has bought a property, who is not now getting vacant possession because he's been asked to complete the sale and the tenant is still there, and his solicitor's telling him there's nothing you can do, you're on your own. That, unfortunately, is the legal position, and the big mistake this fella made was to buy the property without first getting the solicitor to look at the contract and see what was being offered. Because if that occurred, the solicitor would have immediately seen there's a tenant, you need to be wary, you need to be cautious, there may be a difficulty getting this tenant out, and so on. And now that's the situation this fella's in. His difficulty now is that the vendor of the property, the receiver, can actually pursue him for a specific performance, can sue him to complete the sale. And he'll be doing that on the basis that the contract was provided beforehand, the special conditions made it clear that there was a tenant, and that vacant possession was never going to be handed over. In other words, it was never promised, never part of the deal, and that's something that would have become apparent had the chap gone and got legal advice before the auction, not after. It's too late after, and this is a point that I labour time and time again on this YouTube channel, and there is one specific video that I've made about buying at auction, and the one thing that you need to do above all else is to carry out your due diligence, your research before the auction, not after, because after it's too late. The hammer comes down, it's yours, you may go and complete the sale, you have enlisted, you may soldier. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, give it a thumbs up down below. Thanks a lot.